Hello, everybody, and welcome to Manga of the Week number 3. I'm laughing because I already tried this twice, and the first time I didn't have the mic on. Good thing it's only the first chapter we're going over, or the latest chapter for the series. So, thank you everybody so much who's watched this so far. Thank you newcomers, as I've noticed the views have been going up lately, so thank you for that. Hope you're kind of enjoying this. I'm just having a good fun ride reading these mangas, going over the stories, and it's kind of what my opinions are and what I'm hoping to see later on. So, right now then, though, we're starting with Dr. Stone 139 First Dream, story by Richiro Inagaki. I'm going to keep trying to say those names, even if I butcher them, because respect to the artists. So this is pretty cool, because you got like a screenshot of Senku in his Stone Age outfit, along with like a bionic arm, and then we get like a volcanized spirit element Senku in the background, which is kind of cool because that signifies like the great threat of, even though they're in the Stone Age, they're gonna have to use science to take on the bigger threat that is, so far as we know, Senku. So right away when you go into the chapters, they're still going over the fact that the Mystery White Man's message is being spoken with Senku's voice, and so they're kind of freaking out. Possible theories. My main theory that I had, which they brought up in this chapter, was, is it Senku from the future? And that's what I'm wondering, because again, it's science-based show, so that doesn't sound entirely impossible. So, but they're like, do you have a twin, a doppelganger? What's going on? Why are we hearing all this? Or why is the voice coming through as you? And so the crazy part is, though, another incoming message, it's repeating at regular intervals. So you keep hearing 12,800,000 meters in 1 second. And it's like, it's the same pitch as tone as before, and Ukyo realizes that it's a synthetic voice. So everyone's kind of wondering, how is that possible in the Stone world? But Ryusai quickly goes, this issue isn't how we know for a fact. This issue isn't how we know for a fact it's happening. So rather, why is it being sent as an artificial message? Why is it imitating Senku's voice? And Chrome came up with a really good point, is that like, why a man is imitating your voice based on what it's hearing? So maybe it's like somebody that is also born from the Stone world that just didn't really know how to talk, and he's just repeating whatever he says. So that's kind of weird though, because like, if it's somebody that has no part of what would previously happen with the petrification, why would he be stuck saying that over and over again? So right now then, Senku's like, well, to get more information figured out in regard to this, we need device's history. We need to know about the device's history in order to get a clue about the Y-Man. And so Soyuz says he remembers that he's seen the device's shape somewhere before. And then we switch over to Kohaku and Kirasame with Kinro, Ginro, and everybody else that's on the fighting squad, Nikki, Io, and Magma most likely. And then it looks like even Kohaku's dad is there as well. And so they're stating, we need to train you guys for the upcoming battles. As a battle team, our job isn't coming up with theories. Instead, we need to train for the inevitable battle that awaits us. So the next panel you get is a really cool one, which is Kohaku and Kirasame going at it in a full fight. And like, it just looks epic. Like, Kohaku always looks really cool in the way she fights and goes at it. And then Kirasame, we already knew how strong she was too, because with just one kick, she decimated Kohaku. And that's when Kirasame is like, whoa, it looks like you've been holding back on me, Kohaku. And she's like, well, not really. I wouldn't disrespect you, but I have been trying to, last time we fought, I was wearing a dress. I wasn't able to fight at my full potential and full power, which just goes to show that, like, Kohaku can put up a serious fight against these people on her own. So then everyone starts freaking out. They're like, they're evenly matched. The two of them are so fierce. And Ginro's like, yeah, no, I'm out. No way. Thank you. He's like, I'm not training with you people. You're too crazy and too strong. So then it starts transitioning over to Taiju and Soyuz are bringing in a statue. And they're like, oh, this has been petrified. And it's someone from long ago, but like, why exactly did he bring him? He's like, I don't know if this is a scar or tattoo, but we need to take a better look. And on his arm, you see like the infinite symbol, which is the same symbol in the way for the petrification device. So like, whoa, what the heck is going on with that? We'll bring him back with some revival fluid. Instantly he's brought back. Then Francois cleans him up into an actual outfit right away. And then right now, they talk about the healing process too, about how there's cracks on him and how they haven't seen somebody with cracks in a long time. And because he's been like petrified for a very long time, just like Senku's team as well. So, because there are people who were like Chrome and them who were born naturally, and then like there's Senku, Ryusei, Ukyo, who've been petrified over centuries, and then they had the cracks on their bodies because of it when they were freed from the petrification. So this guy being petrified means he's been petrified for a long time as well, and it's still crazy to think there was another civilization of people that also were petrified. So that's what this whole island's been about, though. Since they came here, when they were swimming underwater, they realized there were already statues that were there, and that's kind of weird because they should have been there. As far as like when they were petrified, it seemed a little too close compared to the 3,700-year gap. So then, next scene we get is Kohaku and Kurosame trying to force Ginro to come back to training, and then the next panel is so cool because as soon as you turn the page, you get all of a sudden the new man that they freed from the petrification is like, my lord, and he bursts through, hitting Kohaku and Kurosame with just a stick, and he's defending Ginro. And he's like, I have dishonored myself, I was turned to stone, but now the Matsukaze is by your side, which I don't know if that's his name or just a position he had as far as like protecting someone. But Senku quickly lets him know and clarifies that's actually not someone you know, that's our sleazebag resident. And he's like, Ginro's like, you don't have to put it that way. But it was cool because he was amazingly strong to both block Kurosame and Kohaku at the same time. And he came through really swiftly. So, and he has just a stick, like it's his sword, it's just a stick, but it's amazingly strong. But they start asking him about like what happened to the petrification, what's going on, and you know, he starts having like a little moment where Ginro's talking to him, and he's like, tell us the history of the petrification device. And what he tells him is like, that what you call the petrification device, a great number of them rain down from the heavens as if in a nightmare. And so it's like, whoa, what? That happened to them? Like, you know, for Senku, as we all know, the entire world transformed at once. But for them to just come from the sky in multiple ways. And it's really cool because it looks like the petrification device is slowly unraveling as it's coming from the sky, and we get like that green light. But it also looks like eyeballs from like some kind of fire demon coming from the sky. And so Ryusei is like, okay, that settles it. The source of it all is up above. And Senku, you would think Senku and them would stay around more to hear the history of what happened that day. But nope, Kasuki, and Chrome are like, alright, science will fill the gaps. We're getting ready to go and figure out what to do from here. So they build a satellite, and since the voice is still saying 12,800,000 meters 1 second, they're trying to transmit and locate where that voice is coming from. And so Kasuki's like, okay, it's close by, but which way is it? And Senku, like, after a while, you get like a little scene of them just on the Perseus, and he's like, the signal's coming from above 100,000 kilometers away. And he's like, our Y-Man is on the moon. And that's when everyone is like, the moon? And then Ukyo's like, yep, it's linked up with the moon's movements, there's no mistaking it. And so Kinro's like, is that even possible? How can it be? And so it's an enemy that they don't really know they can reach or beat, which, I don't know, this reveal was great, because it also makes sense. If you want to petrify the world, but you don't want to be petrified yourself, you would do it where you wouldn't get touched. And the only way to do that is off-planet. Like we saw with Byakuya and his crew, they were in space, and the world was petrified, and they survived. So that was a really great way to do it. But then everyone's like, okay, how do we get up there? How did he get on the moon? How's our enemy coming from the moon? And Gen's the only one to realize that the next step that they have to do is go to the moon. So Senku's like, yep, we're going to the moon. And you just get this cool image of the moon, and then you get a cool image of a space shuttle. And that's how the chapter ends. And I have to say, that was a really, really good chapter to go off on. As far as like just the buildup of trying to figure out the Y-Man, getting more history of someone that was petrified previously, and how the devices came down. And I find that really weird though, because it seems like whoever was previously petrified the world, he can no longer be alive unless he petrified himself. Like, he could do a process to where he'd petrify himself and wake up every 100 years, like if he had his own revival fluid, so he could like keep himself in an idea immortal. Otherwise, if there's a person that's just stating 12,800,000 meters in 1 second, that could also be like, maybe there was another human being that was petrified and he doesn't really know how to speak, but there's some kind of recording that he's saying over and over and over again, just to keep the world in check. But that doesn't really line up a lot too with like, how does he know how to keep speaking to that device? How do they know that radio signals would still be active where they could actually reach somebody down below? How did Inbara get the device and know how to use it? that's a lot of the questions that's just kind of being asked in my end. And usually I don't dig that deep for questionings, but since I've been reacting to Ruby, I've started building this where I want to know more and dig deeper more into what I'm getting into. So it's really exciting to see where they're going to go from here, how Senku's team and all them are going to handle it, what exactly they're going to face. But now the next challenge is going to the moon, and so, you know, we're going to get that roadmap of what to build, and it's going to be massive, and it's going to take them a couple years before they go to the moon, so most likely a time skip of another couple years or so. I think it took them, what, 1 to 2 years to build the Perseus, so it's going to take them that, if not longer, to get to the moon, because Senku's the only one who knows how to make a spaceship. And it's really cool though, because it comes full circle from the beginning of the series when we got Senku's flashback about him wanting to go to space, and then now him learning about it, and he'll have to make the spaceship to go. So I'm really excited for that and just can't wait to see more. So that was my review for Dr. Stone. Well, review, but ranking for Dr. Stone. So if I'm going to rank them all at the end, but this one was high on my charts, like really high as far as how the chapter went, and I cannot wait for more. And the good thing is too, next chapter hits February 21st, so next weekend, don't have to have a break. Next we have My Hero Academia 261 High Ends. This is just a continuation of the very ending of last chapter, which was when Mirko busted into Maruta's lab and was able to catch up to him. So it starts off with Maruta like he's mourning the loss of Johnny, because Mirko kicked down the door and Johnny ended up getting crushed and splattered all over. And so like all of a sudden Maruta's having flashbacks, and this guy's kind of twisted, so I don't think he really deserves them. But you kind of get like an aspect of his heart, of his side of it, and it's just like he's brokenhearted because all the work he's done for All For One, who gave him such high praise, all the Nomos he created are basically like his children. And what you see is like more of the Nomos get smashed and destroyed from Mirko's just kicking the door. Like, she's amazingly strong and amazingly cool. So she lets Endeavor know though that she found the old fart and a whole bunch of tough looking Nomu. She don't know, but a good kick I don't know, but a good kick should tell me if it's the real guy. And Endeavor's like, "We'll catch him, but unfortunately I'd like to say we're behind you, but it'll take us a minute." And what you see is the entire hospital, like the lobby, is being taken over by Nomus, and it's all the pro heroes versus all the random Nomus that have been released. So right now then, what happens is then we see the number 6 hero, I believe, his name is Crust, and he's going through the hallways, and he notices that there's a passageway, it must lead up and out, so the morgue isn't their only route out. So he realizes that he's going to go and go through that area and give it a look and take on all the Nomus that he ran into as he runs into a whole bunch at the end of the hall. So while that's going on, Mirko then heads towards Maruta, and she's like, "You're the real one, let's find out." And he's like, I am the real one. She's like, "Better give you a good kick to be sure." So he starts having a flashback, and he like quickly pulls out a device from in his jacket, and he's like, "If only Dabi had failed to retrieve Hood's body," which Hood, if we remember, is the Nomu that did lots of damage to Endeavor. And so he has a device, so it looks like he's going to release the Nomu or so, or go through it. Either way, what's really surprising about this is that Mirko's about to kick him, and in the moment she does kick, he actually is able to move in just enough where it grazes him, but also another Nomu comes out and hits her in the back just in time to distract her. So it's Mocha, and Mocha's the one that's got the double quirk like Twice does. So he's like, "It's a true miracle that I was saved." So Maruta clicks the buttons and activates it. He goes, "Using your quirk without having been told to do it, you did it to protect me. Little Mocha, your courage wasn't for nothing." And next we get, "Go slaughter those meddlesome heroes, my precious high ends." And Mirko is immediately met with like 3 overgrown sized Nomu. And they're all reaching for her at once. One's got her hand in her face. She luckily kicks one's hand and is able to scrape and do damage to it. But she's like in a corner. But in that moment though, she was being not just like tried to grab, but like hit. And she is sent majorly flying into part of the laboratory. And the Nomu, the parts that were damaged, just start generating and healing. And then they start speaking like Hood did. And they're like, "We can go wild, a hero, it's been so long." They're like, "Kill them all, let's go nuts." And it's like, what? Like, you gotta get like freaked out about that. So next thing you know, then the number Crust comes in there and he's like, Mirko, and he ends up in the laboratory too, and right away he's met by one of the new Nomus, the talking ones. And he's like, I'm not sure about your rank, but I know you're Crust. And he's like, correct, how astute. And so Maruta uses this chance. He's like, I'm sorry I couldn't give you enough time, but I leave this to you, my high ends. And he leaves behind a door. So one thing that kind of makes me funny about Maruta, or just kind of the way he looks, reminds me how he's like in a chair and trying to stay away and let his creatures handle it. He reminds me of like Dr. Wily from Mega Man, who wouldn't take on the enemies, or even Dr. Eggman with the mustache and bald head, and he's creating all these projects and runs away. So I like that old style that we get, especially with the Sonic movie coming out earlier this week. So it's pretty cool reference in my head for that. So. And then we get Mirko coming out, who's damaged and bleeding, and she's like, you think you're getting away, you old fart? Whatever, things are just only heating up. And we get the panel of Mirko and then the new Nomu, the high ends as he's called them, and they're all standing ready to fight. And it says next chapter hits March 1st. So My Hero Academia is on break next week, so I will not be going over that in my ranking list. As this chapter as a whole, it was okay. Not major much progress. We just kind of got like a continuation of last chapter, which she tries to get the jump on Maruta, but she is met with the new Nomus that are attacking. We kind of get like more of an aspect that Maruta's work is amazingly precious to him, and he just doesn't want to ever see it destroyed because of how much he puts into it. But that's kind of how a scientist is, plus a mad or evil scientist. They always put so much into their work, they never want to see it gone, and they'll do whatever they can to protect it, no matter how evil their ambitions are. Besides that, not much happened. They revealed the new Nomus, the heroes, and that's it. There's not much for me to go over for this. So it's one of my lower ones, not one of the best chapters that came out, but it still left a good development for what's going on. I'm just kind of worried, as I've been seeing with the controversy with My Hero Academia, with this break that we're getting. It seems like the writer for it, Kohei Hirokoshi, is a little under fire due to not only naming the Professor Maruta off of a World War II evil scientist, but also, I guess, some of the characters' birth dates align with people from World War II, like Bakugo's birthday is from Adolf Hitler's birthday, and other ones like that. I don't know, like maybe World War II was a significant thing where he used references of characters and birthdays. I don't see that as a big issue still. It's the past. It's not current. It's the past. People need to, not mistakes from the past, but also need to get over the past and realize it's fine. People need to stop dilly-dallying over that kind of stuff. So I'm hoping that's not why he's on break. Manga writers always get their breaks every once in a while. So, you know, if that's not a reason that makes sense that he's just taking the regular break, but if that's not the reason there's more to come after this, that's going to suck, because My Hero Academia is a good series, and you shouldn't be under fire just because you made some relations to other people, when there are plenty of other offensive and crazier movies and stories that are just so much worse than what it could be. So, but yeah, that is my ranking and mini review for My Hero Academia, chapter 261. Next chapter, I am hoping to see more of the aspect with Deku's team. What are they going to do, or what's their end looking like as far as taking on the villains? Or are we just going to get more of like the Nomu high-end fights? It'd be really cool to see the Nomu's abilities as far as it goes too, because they're talking and they have intelligence, and that's the crazy part, because the Nomu that Crust ran into, he called out the Nomu, and the Nomu called him. He's like, "You are Crust." He's like, "Yes, that's correct." And so it's like, why did they know that? Hood was also after Endeavor. He was also going wild, but he was also after Endeavor and was really smart in that aspect too. So I want to know more of that. I want to know more of what's happening to Shigaraki in the League of Villains as well. So lots of things to expect in the next chapter. With this arc, though, it's going to be a huge one. I don't know if this arc actually has a name, but it seems like it's finally the heroes versus the villains arc is what I'm thinking, unless there's an official name for it. But yeah, that is, again, My Hero Academia, chapter 261. Again, it is on break. And next, we have One Piece, chapter 971, Sentenced to Boil. I'm happy this is off break. I've been making theories, thoughts of what's to come, where we're going with this, how far this flashback's gonna go. This flashback has been going for a very long time, and I'm missing me some Luffy. I'm missing my Straw Hats. So, but this has been a really phenomenal flashback. So, yeah, let's kind of just jump straight into this here. So, right off the bat, we get Goaty from Gang Bedge's family, and he's kind of running, as it looks like, Bedge's wife. Oh, I forget her name. Dang it, I forgot her name. I gotta get these names down for this one. She is asking for help, and so he's running. He's like, I have to go save her. So I like this little side story we're still getting with Gang Bedge. It's going on for a while. And that's the cool thing about Oda is, like, if there are stories he can't touch up, he's always done the main chapter panels for it. Otherwise, if there's like a fan request, then we'll get that on the main chapter 2 as well, and that'll be the intro. But this chapter, it hit hard. So we start off right away where Momonosuke is talking to his mother, and he's like, why is my life in danger? And she's like, well, you're meant to carry a duty one day. You have a destiny to fulfill one day. And he's like, and so we have to make sure that, you know, the food is not poisoned. So I guess it looks like they're already being cautious to what could happen to their family. Even now that Oden's been captured, they could still be assassinated or killed at any moment. And so then they have a guard there, and he's just like, okay, it's safe for you to Lord Momonosuke and Lady Hiro to eat. And then Momonosuke starts crying. He's like, is it true that today father will be, and we know what's going to happen, the boiling. And the next page we go over to is the public execution of Oden and his 9 vassals. It says they will begin momentarily. So the really messed up part is the people of Wano start rushing over, and they're like, oh, we can't miss the boiling. It's not every day you're going to see this. He's like, it only takes a second because they use oil. We don't want to miss this. And so then we get the 9 vassals as they're standing over next to the boiling pot, or, you know, the little plank between it. And people are talking about how, even for the people of Wano, start talking about how a fool Oden is. Even with his strength, he couldn't beat Kaido. What a fool he could be. You can't expect much from him. Like, they're all just talking crap about him. And it's Kaido and Orochi are just sitting there watching as this all goes down. And so then, as a proposition, Oden goes, I request that you give me a chance. It is imperative that I survive. Kaido's pissed off. He's like, what? A chance? Why would I even give you that opportunity? And as it continues on, just the guy who was going to push Oden into it, he's like, into the pot, no more jokes. He ends up slipping, falling into the pot, and like, he is screaming and in pain and burning away while he's being boiled by the oil. And he's trying to go to the people, they're like, no, stay away. And it's just a horrific sight of this dude burning away, and just his body becomes a legit corpse for everybody that's just burned to the bone. And so then Oden's proposition, ignoring all of what happened previously, he's like, all 10 of us will enter the pot together. If any of us withstand the boiling for the amount of time you agree upon, please let them go free. They're like, Lord Oden, what is this? And they're like, withstand? This is an instantaneous... Or Orochi's like, this is an instantaneous death sentence. And so Kaido goes into agrees to this influence. He's like, get a clock to count the time. You have 1 hour. Let's see how long you last. It's enough to get lightheaded in the bath. And Oden's like, do I have your word on that? And Kaido's like, of course. But after the whole betrayal we had before, I wouldn't have trusted him on that. But I guess maybe with Kaido and Orochi having an audience and being witnesses to this, they will have to keep their word. And the people are just like, okay, he still won't give up. Can you make it quick? I've got errands to run. That triggered me because they don't have to be there. And the thing is that they should be thanking him more for trying to even take on Kaido. But instead, they're just completely giving up on Oden at this point, which it makes sense after 5 years. And so then Oden, he's screaming. He steps into the pot immediately, and he is screaming at the intense amount of pain he's in. And they're like, and then next thing you know, the 9 scabbards are like, okay, don't let our Lord go alone. After him, we'll meet again in the afterlife. And then Oden goes, all of you get on top of the plank. And it's the plank that we're standing on. And he's holding it above himself while he's in a boiling pot of oil. And they're all freaked out, wondering what the heck's going on. They're like, no, Oden, it should be the other way around. You're our Lord. We should be the ones to hold you up. He's like, shut up and stay in there. This is an order. And so Orochi's pissed because he's like, the vessels aren't even touching the oil. And Kaido's like, but all of them are within the pot. It's true. It's very entertaining, which was the agreement. So he's holding up to that. So, but right now, Oden by himself, he's using all his strength to hold up 9 people of different weight, height, and size. And he has to hold them up for an hour. And the crazy part is, as you're reading this, you're like, okay, you got like a panel of like the standstill and nothing's happening. You're like, okay, how much time has passed? What's the matter? It hasn't even been 1 minute. You're like, what? Then 4 minutes pass, and at this point, Oden's arms start ripping. The muscles start tearing so bad he's bleeding. Same for his feet in the oil, and he's huffing and puffing, and he's breathing hard. And he just, as he's suffering through all this, obviously the scabbards and people who love and support Oden are completely scared by this. But the townspeople of Wano have the nerve to talk about how he should give up and how they're still here, and they were hoping to see him screaming in agony and pain. And that is when Shinobu gets pissed off, and she grabs one of them and says, how dare you call him, because one of them called him a fool, and she goes, how dare you call him a fool, say one more time and I'll end your life. And they're like, what's that woman doing? Look out, she's got a sword. And so now Captain Shinobu is making a bit of a scene. She's like, you guys are the ones who are fools. Who do you think has been ensuring that you all live in peace? He's like, if you lose Oden now, misery will befall this kingdom. Orochi is not a shogun or a dictator. If you ask me, every single person in this land is guilty. She says that, and then you go to a flashback of Orochi and Oden, and kind of getting the mystery or the clarity as to why Oden did what he did for 5 years straight. And then Orochi explains that he took the shogun's throne to get his vengeance for his family, but his grandpa committed crime and was forced to commit seppuku. His clan fell into ruin, they were running, they were thieves, they were basically always on the hunt. So now, for his vengeance, his target was all of Wano. He's like, so you'll reap what you sow for what your family did to my family. But then what happened, then from a room in the back, Shinobu begins to explain a tribute for Kaido, a great stock of weapons, and many hundreds of kidnapped people. They would be sold, tortured, or killed. And what had happened is Oden, basically in order to save the kingdom, to save those people and keep things from going bad, he gave up his freedom, and he agreed that for 5 years, what he would do, he would be made a public dance at the buffet at the same time every week as an apology to the Kurozumi clan. Then he would lose all of his standings, but he would save 100 lives with each dance. So he did that for 5 years straight. He trusted that promise for 5 years that they would go away. They would agree to sail away from this country when they were done building their ships. So he traveled from region to region every week, making certain that nothing had changed. For all these years, Lord Oden has been protecting this land. So tell me again, who are you calling a fool of a lord, is what Shinobu says as she starts crying at the unbelievable reality that Oden has done. So this man has bared more weight than any character in One Piece has. Like, no one has bared more weight than him. For 5 years straight, he had to act a fool and to save people and deal with this so much lies and criminal and evil that was going on. And then not only that, now, when he was finally confronted about it and finally tried to do something different about it, he unfortunately lost to Kaido, and now he's holding up his crew, his fellow loyal followers, as he's being boiled alive right now. And he has to survive a full hour for them to make it out of it. We know the scabbards do make it out of it. I don't see Oden making it out of it, but I do see him succeeding. But the thing is that, remember, he was then eaten by Kaido. So how was he eaten exactly? Because if he's boiled alive, you're not going to eat that. So how was he eaten by Kaido? That's the thing I want to know, because if I remember right, maybe it was ramen or like a soup or something like that he was turned into. I can't full on remember, but this chapter hit really hard for me. Reading each and every page and just the detail that was going into it was really hard to see too, because it's just this is the cruelest chapter of this year so far, and of Wano that we've seen. We've seen a lot of messed up things that have happened, but this is just a really cruel and really messed up chapter. And fun fact, it's not on break next week, and I'm already anticipating this chapter to come again. This was really, really one that was amazing to come back from after the break. So that is One Piece chapter 971, Sentenced to Boil. Alright, and then lastly, but not too briefly, but also still pretty good, we have chapter 5 of Undead Unluck by Yoshifumi Tozuka. So, if you've been keeping up with the series, last chapter, they fought some of the Uma organization, and they stole back a plane by killing the pilots in it. and Andy was showing off his abilities that he's able to do. Basically, since he can regrow and regenerate himself, he can bite pieces or basically leave himself half-limbed, and when it regrows, it can shoot at like the speed of a rocket or a bullet from a gun and destroy things. That's also how he uses his sword techniques too, is he's able to put a sword inside of himself and cut it, and like he stated, if he doesn't have a sheath, he'll just stick it in his body, and that's where it will stay. So this is a really creepy series. But it starts off with Andy and Fuuko as they arrive in Russia now, and their planes explodes, and she's wondering why the plane exploded. They're like, well, they figured out we swiped their ride. He's like, so it exploded. He goes, but no biggie, I got a technique up my sleeve for my mercenary days called a 5-point landing. It's really bad because what happens is, from the point of contact of the balls of his feet, the next to the side of your calves, then your butt, then your back, and he's like, suck it. And then Fuuko goes, all that creaking and cracking sounds so gross, because he's breaking his bones as he's landing on each pot, but he's also regenerating them. And he yells, suck it, when they land. And she's like, Fuuko's like, I could have sworn you said suck it at the end. He goes, no, success. He's like, I said success. Anyway, we landed. And so then they look out and they realize they're at the Lake Baikal, the world's deepest, clearest, and oldest freshwater lake, is what Andy says. And Andy's happy to be here because we're in his land of Russia. But they call... I was wrong about that too. The organization isn't called UMA, it's the Negators, but he said it's like, this is likely the spot where we reach our UMA, which he's calling an unidentified mystery animal. So what Andy says is he's going to meet up with some of his old war buddies, and he wants Fuuko just to stay here and enjoy herself. He's like, one of my buddies has a good restaurant too, so you gotta try some decent food and some Russian food. Just have fun. And so right away, as Fuuko's alone, she's obviously scared to touch anybody with her ability. She doesn't want to cause them any bad luck. She doesn't want to kill anybody. And so then there's two guys immediately trying to hit on her, and in an instant, Fuuko goes around an entire crowd of people, and it's a special skill, can slip through groups of people cleanly, is what the title says next to her, which is really funny. But she ends up stopping next to a girl, and she doesn't know who that girl is, and she's actually kind of scared that she was even found out. But the girl starts freaking out, and she's like, oh, okay. She's like, oh, a Japanese girl. And she asks her, is she like the personification of an idolized Japanese woman? She's like, no, just Japanese. And the girl starts going about how she loves Japanese school uniforms, and she becomes friends at Fuuko and goes over the paint. She shows her the painting she's doing, and she asks her to have some fun and paint with her. But then the girl does give Fuuko the name Little Lucky, because she has a hat named Lucky on it, or it says good luck. And since she's kind of tiny, and they talk about stuff like they like stuff that doesn't change, that's not tied down or swayed by anyone. That's just a cool quality about something that says exactly the same. She's like, don't you think? As she asks that to Fuuko. So then they do their paintings, and it's like late at night at this point. They're the only two at the beach, and this is when I started getting like the really bad feeling that, crap, they're the only two there. Either this chick is the enemy that they were looking for, or something bad's gonna happen to both of them. And as they're going through then, and Fuuko shows her drawing, she drew like the horizon and the moon and the stars, and she's like, there's nothing in space except the moon and the sun, right? And she's like, well, the moon looked awfully lonely up there, so I gave it some friends. So they're just drawing carefree and being happy, and they're going over about like how they felt about this and how sincere it is. Then Fuuko goes on a rant about she felt like the longest time she couldn't change, she was hard on me, and that she wanted to die. And then she met a madhouse of a man who first groped her. They've been through explosions, and now she's here in Russia, and he never once took in the fact that she was a shut-in for 10 years. It's like, but it blows him. But she's happy because she was able to draw with this woman, and she had a good time, and she feels free. And you can tell the change that's going through her, and how she's great. She's, she doesn't say it out loud, but she's grateful to Andy that she's been able to live this life, and things have changed for her since they met. And then, as though the bad stuff happens, the chick goes, "What lovely words," and she starts walking on water. And she's like, "You're so young, so green, so naive." She's like, "But still, your words still resonate with me." And so next thing you know, she pulls up a crapload of the water from underneath her feet and rises up, and the lake starts floating. And then Andy does show up out of nowhere, and he's immediately doing his he immediately has the sword shoved through his entire arm, and he's ready about to use a technique against this new opponent. and he uses the Crimson Crescent Moon, and she just blocks it instantly. I can't really tell if she like smacks it away or uses some of the water. He's like, you went a little overboard with the makeup, especially around the eyes, Gina. And at that moment, you realize it's the chick that originally he lost to and was able to contain him. And she's like, the boss briefed me. You want to kill me and join the organization, right? Well, then looks like you have to change me first. So she calls Daddy Dearest and Little Lucky is what she calls Andy and Fuuko. And she suddenly is like in this squirrel outfit, but has like tights on, no shoes, and she's just walking down like this water path, which is really cool. Like, to use the big water you brought floating and make water stairs, that was really cool. But the chapter ends with that, and it's sad because Fuuko finally felt like great to be out there. She felt like she was having a friend to do, and then it's Gina, the woman that originally caught Andy, and yeah, it ends there. So luckily though for this one, the next chapter is February 21st. There is no break for that chapter as well. I like this series. It's just a nice little fun one to read on the side. God bless me, I had to sneeze, sorry. And so what had happened from there is that losing track of what I was saying. So it's a good series. I like that I could just kind of read it. It hasn't developed too far, so I can't make much theories because again, it just started. But I like the little changes we're getting and the story are progressing with like Andy's weird abilities of being an undead person and having weaponry and certain skills. And then Fuuko, who's like was a shut-in for 10 years, but now someone pulled her along for a wacky adventure. And as that goes on more, her character development will happen more, and we'll get like really cool redeeming moments where she'll probably be able to control her bad luck. So I do like it. It's a good manga series, and I'm glad it came out. Overall, though, if we have to rank each of these in order, One Piece definitely took the top spot for me. Just the whole thing with Oden, the realization, the history, what he's been through, how dark it's getting even more from this whole aspect of Kaido and this flashback has been, and just the honor that was happening. It blows my mind, and I'm so happy to be reading this kind of series. Number 2 spot for me would definitely then follow with Dr. Stone. The development that we're getting, the talk of them having to go to the moon, and then, you know, we're getting more information that there were not just one but multiple petrification devices. Like, that's crazy. And still not knowing who is on the moon with Senku's voice, that's up a really high area for me as well. Then third, I actually surprisingly am going to say Undead Unluck. I like the way that it's going so far. Again, with the progress with Andy and with Fuuko, just kind of the fun atmosphere you're getting with it too, but also the seriousness of the situation is that they do have to kill and defeat someone in order to get into an organization that would then protect them from their abilities rather than try to experiment on them. And the major twist though of someone who like is a shut-in, feels so free, is so happy to meet someone and just have fun for a time, and that person turns into a villain. That just hurts in a way, and the betrayal is real, and she didn't get to react to it in this chapter, but she'll definitely get to react to it next chapter is what I'm hoping. So that was, you know, third best for me because of how that aspect played in this chapter. Lastly then being My Hero Academia. It blew me away last week, and I actually thought the way where it was going and how the next chapter might be, it might rise up to where I would have made that first compared to Dr. Stone, because last week, even though I did make it Dr. Stone, it was really hard this week to see which one I liked better as far as between the two. I was hoping that would be the case, but Dr. Stone won this week again, and My Hero Academia being last, it was just okay. You know, we got a little information Maruta with Mirko and with Crust, and that was about it. And we got the new Nomus introduced, which we knew new Nomus were going to be introduced at some time after meeting Hood. But from here on out, it's just like, okay, newer Nomus, but what exactly else can they do? What other twist can we have? So, anyway, these rankings are just my personal own, and these mangas are still amazing. I'm not planning to drop any of them. But definitely One Piece took it this week, and that makes me happy, because again, it's my favorite series, and I try to be as unbiased as possible. It's progressing so well, and I can't wait for next week. It's not on break, and I'm super excited. So, thank you everybody so much for watching. Please leave a like and comment down below of what you think, what your if you have your own little mini ranking in your head and you read the same mangas, which one's ranked for you and why, as well as release some recommendations. I need to broaden my perspective. This video was already about 40 minutes long due to going over just 4 chapters. And I can see them getting longer, but I gotta figure out some way to shorten them. But I do want more recommendations. I want a broader horizon as far as what I read. So thank you all so much for watching. Hope you have a blessed rest of your Sunday, and I will see you next time once we read The Fray. Peace out.